During a critical juncture of last night's Bulls-Raptors game, you could see Nick Nurse getting up from the sideline and orchestrating his players like a conductor. This resulted in a wide-open Gary Trent Jr. 3 that basically sealed the game. I want to explain to you what exactly this play was and what was going on here. This play is called a stack pick and roll. You can actually hear Nurse yelling stack, stack in the background. And he's also making a stack motion with his fists. He's motioning to get OG Anunoby in the corner and telling Gary Trent Jr. to head to the middle of the floor to set up the stack action. Okay, so just a really quick explainer on what a stack pick and roll is. You can see Chris Boucher setting that initial ball screen on Ayo Dosunmu, and then Gary Trent Jr. is going to set a back screen on Nikola Vucevic, which is Boucher's guy. So that's all it is, it's just those two screens. So Nurse moved all those guys around because he wanted Gary Trent Jr. setting that back screen on Vucevic. This is an extremely common action in the NBA. The Phoenix Suns run it a lot with Devin Booker in that Gary Trent Jr. role. And you want a shooter in that spot because it puts a lot of pressure on the defense when he comes up to the three-point line. You have to stay really tight on that three-point shooter, and there's just so many moving parts that it can be easy to screw up, as the Bulls did here. So that was the real genius here of Nurse, is just moving those pieces around and getting Trent Jr. involved in the play in the exact position that he was supposed to be in. So how do you stop a stacked pick and roll? One really common way to defend it is to have the big man drop, so in this case Vucevic, and then have the two guards switch, so Levine and Ayo Dosunmu would switch their assignments. This is the Bulls' base defense for this type of play, and you can see them executing it earlier in the season against Utah. Against the Raptors, they didn't do that guard-guard switch. It looked like Vucevic and Levine were calling for the switch, but Dosunmu didn't realize that it was on. So that's why Trent Jr. was so open on this play. They just didn't know that they were supposed to switch. It's not really clear whose fault it is because we can't pick up the audio, but they were supposed to switch and they did not. And in case you don't believe me, here's Billy Donovan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic saying the same thing after the game.
Yeah, I believe I believe Zach called a switch. That's kind of a coverage on that play, and we did not get over to Trent.
They ran a stack action, and we didn't defend it right. He came off. We're supposed to switch the pick and roll with the stack, but it's just communication. But just bad communication at the wrong point of the game.
I think there was just some miscommunication on that screen. I'm not sure. I haven't seen what happened on that screen. The guard to guard with Gary Trent and Van Vliet, so I can't really tell because I didn't exactly see what happened. But I think it was just some miscommunication. Fortunately, it happens. It happened at a bad time. It's something we talk about. That we have to be better. We just have to learn from it. They did a good job executing it, and we didn't do a good job covering it.
So that's it. That's how the sausage is made. Great play call by Nick Nurse, improvising without using a timeout. A little bit of confusion on the Bulls' part, and you get a wide open three-pointer to seal this game.